Hey Bill, thanks again for using Racers360. I'm really excited about today. We're going to talk about some racecraft stuff. Always a lot of fun. I think we have a lot to work with here in these couple laps. So let's go ahead and go right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is getting a consistent race start. Now, in this video, you got a great race start. I mean, it looked really good. What I would say is, when I'm listening to your throttle, it sounds like we're controlling our speed purely from the throttle. And like we're sometimes completely off the throttle and then we're kind of on it. What that can lead to happen is you're obviously trying to judge the gap in front of you. And what often happens is you start to go, you get too close, you have to lift. And always when you lift is when the stupid green flag comes out, everyone gets to jump and you're caught off the throttle and you get a really bad start. I know that's happened to you. It happens to all of us. So one great way to avoid that is to actually drag your brakes a little bit and control the gap in the speed with your braking of your left foot and keep your right foot constant. So typically your right foot's constant at like 25, 30% throttle. And then you're just kind of adding a little bit of brakes here and there when you need. And then when the green flag comes out, you simply full throttle off the brakes. That helps you become a lot more consistent and have a lot more control over your speed. You're never caught really sleeping or in a bad situation. So like I said, in this video, you get a good race start, but I think that'll help you just be consistently really good on those. It also helps generate a little bit more heat in the brakes, which then goes out to the tire, and dragging your brakes or accelerating the brakes the best way to get heat in your tire. So it's kind of got two little positives there. Ultimately, we don't want to be doing that for a full lap, but as you're coming to the green flag, it's a great way to control speed and just make things more consistent. So if we're going to go here, let's go ahead and start playing. So right now I'd be dragging brakes, consistent, dragging brakes. I'm looking. The other key thing here is you want to be looking to as far forward as you can see or to the farthest row you can see. So right now, you know, it's hard to tell what row we're in, but if you're not within the first two rows, you don't even really want to be looking for the green flag. You're looking right now as far forward. So this is the furthest car forward I can see. And what I'm trying to do is look when he starts accelerating and go at the same time. So I've seen he's gone and we're going. I can see you've done that as well. So like I said, good race start, but really looking far forward, and then try that trail braking technique. I think that'll help. So in terms of how the actual aggression or how we're looking, I think we had the right idea of outside of turn one, but what ends up happening is it almost looks like you try to go around the outside of the 541 car here as well. You try to go 3 wide, and we end up going 2 wide. That puts you out to the marbles. You run out of room, can't get a good exit. What I would like to have seen you done on this lap is really been stuck right behind this car and closer into this Miata and go around the outside, but hugging as close to the Miata as possible. So giving him a car width of room, but being closer. So if we go right now, I would have been right behind that 541's car. And it looks like you try to go around the outside of him even as we go here. So like I said, I would like to have seen you car within, and it looks like we've got the room here. So in right here, hugging the outside of this Miata, giving him that car width of room. And I think what ultimately that would have helped you get a better exit here. You end up not really costing yourself right now, and you end up kind of saving it a little bit later, but you would have put yourself in a better situation by being closer in here. So what ends up happening is we're out in the marbles, we get understeer, we have to lift off, we run out of room, and we don't get a great exit. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow that BMW, it looks like in the same classes up, to get a really strong run on us. So if you had stuck right behind the BMW here, you would have been by this Miata, and you would have been going. I think it's Miata. I know it's a Mazda. I can't quite tell what exact car that is. But you would have been past them, better entrance here, and you would have got a better exit as well. So what ends up happening is now we're too wide. You can't get the exit you want. And then the car behind us that we battle for position a lot gets a really good exit. So at this point, you're focused on getting a good exit here. I would notice, hey, he's got a run on me. I would want to cover the inside. We end up putting ourselves in a bad situation braking in the next corner. And I'm going to go ahead and play, and I'm going to show you what happens. So if we're looking in that mirror, right now he's kind of looks like he's right here. He may not be fully alongside, but looks like he's got barely a nose there. And then what ends up happening is right into the brake zone right now. So if we go just back a little bit, at this point he's got a car width of room, and then we're braking when we start to brake we're not braking quite in a straight line. It looks like we're braking at a slight angle. Obviously, I've over-exaggerated a little bit here. But if I go a little bit farther forward in that camera, all of a sudden, now he no longer has a car with the room anymore. We've kind of chopped him. And that puts you in a bad situation. So if he could have easily have hit you there, if he was really committed and maybe slightly outbroke himself, he could have easily gotten to the rear of you. So what I would like to have seen you done is get to the inside earlier out of the last corner, make your intentions clear, make him say, hey, I've got the inside, you can go around the outside of me. But instead, we kind of chop him over. It doesn't hurt us here. Everything ends up being fine. But with a lot of drivers, that can put you in a bad situation. So just something to keep aware of when you're braking. You always want to kind of, if someone's there or looking, give them a little bit of room and not really chop over on them, because that'll anger a lot of people. And if they make a small mistake, they can end up in you really easily. So into here, we get a pretty good exit right now. We're looking forward, not looking at our mirrors. Nice job. Now, the next corner, we get a great brake zone into. And a few laps in a row, we just don't get a good exit. I can't quite hear what's going on, why we can't get a good exit, because the car in front of us is, we really catch them. We're rolling the same amount of speed, but they really jump us on the exit. So let's take a look at this, and I'll go back through it. So nice brake zone, really nice little save there, using all the road, beautiful. Nice apex, your line looks great, but then look, he jumps away from us here. And at first I was thinking, well, maybe he's got just more torque, maybe a slightly different car. But on the other corners, that's not happening. So let's go ahead and talk about, first off, what we're doing really well and maybe what we can try to improve. So the first thing is brake zone, awesome job. Look how much you're catching them. I like that. If we go back here, just a little bit of a moment, nice little save. You're right at the limit of the car. I love that you're using all the road out here. I like your apex. What I'd be saying right now is full throttle. I want you committing full throttle here. And let's just go ahead. I'm going to turn the volume up and let's just take a listen together and see what we can hear. So it almost sounds like you're hitting the throttle here. Now, I may mishear that. It's a little bit hard sometimes with other cars on track to know which one's us. But I would like to see you've gotten to throttle earlier here. You're right with them. You're sucked up. Stay right with them. Stay right with them. Use more road on exit. Everything you can do to get a good exit here so that you can draft them, be right with them, and then maybe pop here. So let's go back a little bit to racecraft. What I would say right now is, well, let me go back just a little bit. So let's take a look at what the car is going behind you here. So if we had gotten a good exit, you would have no pressure from behind. But because we got a little bit of a bad exit, the car behind us is catching us. What I'd like to have seen you do is, I would say I feel pretty safe here. Like, I don't think I'm being overtaken. I know what you're doing. You want to keep your car in the mirror here, which you're doing fine right now. But then right before the brake zone, when you know you're not going to be overtaking that car, get back over to the left so you can get a good line through. Now, if this car down the inside wants to lunge, you just kind of have to let him go. It's one of those things. He was kind of driving not in the greatest standards, really. He would have really late dive bomb lunge moves, which are super annoying. But I think here he was trying to draw a mistake out of you almost. Like you wouldn't have really been able to overtake. And what ends up happening is you cost yourself time, and he can stay with you, and he just keeps distracting you rather than driving your line there. I think you could have gotten away with driving your line, come in with a wider radius, and gotten a better exit here. All things considered, we still get a pretty good exit. You still do a nice job through here. But I think if you had been online, it would have been a little bit stronger. So through here, we're looking good. We're looking good. All good. Everything's good through here. Once again, I think this was just a little optimistic, like, hey, maybe I can get by him here. You're like almost trying to overtake in every corner or just show your nose, and hopefully he'll let me by. But it kind of puts you in a situation where, like, does he see me? Does he not see me? I don't think we were really there here. So at this point right now, I like that you show yourself in the mirror. But at this point, right, so right now you're good. Right now I'd be moving back over to the left. Let me get right behind him. I'm not going to really overtake him here. Instead, you put yourself in a bad situation, and this guy kind of gets a run on us again because you don't know what you're doing. The guy in front of you doesn't really know what you're doing, so he may overslow. That kind of checks you up. And then the guy, the third person, is like really optimistic. So it puts us just in an awkward position there. So we leave him room there, get a nice exit, get a nice run out of there. Perfect, perfect, perfect. We're looking good here. So let's take a look at what happens here. That's a beautiful overtaking move. Beautiful. Nothing you could have done better there. Nice drafting. You're right with them. The guy behind you wants to kind of get by. He opens the door. You are decisive. The big thing there is you were decisive. You know, before when you're kind of like show, but then you don't really know, it's not a decisive move, and it wasn't a really great spot. So I love how decisive you were here. He's like, he's opening the door. I'm going for it. And you broke. You got fully alongside him. That right there, picture perfect. So he slightly missed the apex, but who cares? It's fine. It's, you know, you use your corner right there. That's exactly what we want to see, that decisiveness. So now we start to play with those Miatas a little bit for this next car a little bit farther forward. Let's go take a look at that. So again, at this point, I think we were too optimistic here. You're kind of showing your nose, and it's past the turning point. So the drivers that we're driving with here, he's not expecting you to overtake him right now. He's probably already looked in the mirror and then now looking forward. If he sees you, which is a big if, it'll be super late, and then you may check up like, oh man, I don't know if he's there. Then you're going to check up saying, well, I don't know if he sees me. And again, it gets into this weird situation. So I'd rather have seen a little bit more patience. You're going onto a long straightaway here. What I'd like to have seen is, I'm too far from him right now. Let me drive my line, not really try to get to this point. So maybe I needed to get further left to make sure he knows, hey, I'm not trying to overtake you here. I want you to go drive your line quickly. And then I can get a good exit here onto this back straightaway and get by him earlier. I think that whole situation, it just goes into being more decisive. Doesn't end up costing you that much. It ends up being fine. But it's all about the situations that you put yourself in. And that was just, again, leading into one where occasionally you can put yourself in a bad situation, especially if you start to think, well, he probably sees me. He's going a little bit wider than normal. And then all of a sudden he turns in on you. I see it a ton. So it's just being sometimes smart, not trying to overtake the second you get there, especially if you catch someone pretty quickly. They may not know you're there, so you may want to be just a little bit more patient, which is tough to manage when you're obviously on the track racing, right? Like you're always trying to be flat out. So let's take a look here. Very nice. Good exit through here. Yep. So once again, let's take a look and listen through this corner one more time. It just sounds like we are to initial throttle too early, which is causing us to understeer and really delaying where we can get to full throttle. That's what I'm listening to here. So if I were to, this is one of the main corners where I really you're driving really well everywhere. This one, what I'd like to see is same entry speed, if you not roll slightly more entry speed if possible, and only pick up your initial throttle here, and then I want you full throttle by like here, and then opening those hands earlier, use all of that road as much as you can, unless there's something out here for a reason you can't use it, use as much as you can. So I think we gotta delay that initial throttle a little bit, and then have a quicker movement to full throttle here. I think that'll really help you get that better exit out of here. See here, going to the next corner, we're starting to catch some traffic. A little bit of a move in the brake zone there again. You know, look, we were down the middle of the road, and we just kind of ever so slightly, it looks like, maybe I'm wrong. Let me watch it one more time. Sorry, I could be wrong there. It just looked like we kind of moved in the brake zone ever so slightly. So he's starting to look down the inside. That was fine. No, nothing wrong there. I just want to make sure we're not moving in the brake zones. Let's see, we could exit. Take a look. You're leaving him room, leaving him room, leaving him room, leaving him room. Perfect. That's perfect. That's a nice defensive line. You still get a good exit there. So the next thing I saw kind of goes back into that decisiveness scenario. So we're starting to catch these Miatas right now. Let's take a look at what happens here and then how we can improve it, because I know this got a little bit funky. So this guy was really annoying driver to me. I don't like how late of a lunge he does here. He kind of puts himself in that bad situation that I was telling you not to put yourself in. Very easily, if you were a driver that didn't see him, he's put himself in a horrible position to come very late, and already after you've turned in, and that he's there, and you do a great job seeing him, putting yourself alongside him. But I don't want you to be that guy, because it's so easy to be out there with someone that doesn't know you're there. And more often than not, they're going to turn in on you. You're going to take yourself both out of the race. So it's just too aggressive at this point. And that's the situation I want you to try to avoid. But good job seeing them and fighting them off, giving them the space, getting a good exit. Unfortunately, you kind of just got snookered here, right? Like, you had to brake early. He had the line because of that. Unfortunately, it worked out for him this time. I don't like the move that he put on you there, or how he did it. But unfortunately, it worked for him this time. What I'd like to have seen you do, maybe it's the next corner. Let's take a look here. So right now, what am I thinking? I want to be in line with the faster car. So you do have options here. If you want to be really aggressive, you could show your nose and go down this way. There's room for you there. I don't think it would have worked out. And driving with the level of drivers that are around you, I wouldn't have done it, because I wouldn't have trusted him. So on the pro circuit where I know this guy, that's absolutely the way I would have gone. I would have gone down the inside at this point. But it's a very aggressive, high-risk move, and I only do it with people that I know with. So if you knew this driver and you knew he was solid, he knows that he's very aware, that's the way to go. If not, I'm probably at this point trying to stay right behind this BMW and trying to go with him. So if we go a little bit farther forward, we see what ends up happening. We kind of get caught out here, right? So he ends up going around the outside. I think if you had been right there with him, let me clear the drawing. The Miata here probably would have seen you and probably would have given you the room to go around the outside with him, but instead we get caught out. So I think we could have just said earlier, let me lift, let me get right behind him and try to go with him. So right now, I'm opening my hands. I'm using all the road. I'm sticking right with him. And I'm betting that Miata would have seen me. Now, there's a slight chance he wouldn't have, but you could have just backed off. He would have ended up in the same situation. But I would have liked to have seen you right behind that BMW, stick with them around the outside of Miata here, and then you probably would have set yourself up better to stay right there with that BMW, rather than, again, getting a poor exit here. And then that puts you in this really awkward situation where he doesn't end up really seeing you that well. Gives you a little bit of room, but he gives you just enough room. And I think at this point, you thought he was going to turn in on you, but then all of a sudden he gives you room, and we get caught out by getting on the grass there. So what can we have done better there? Let's go back and take a look. What I would have said is, well, first off, the poor exit here is what really hurts us into the next corner. Right now, I would have said maybe just the only thing I think we could have done better right now was been slightly more decisive, worry a little bit less about getting to this apex and more about just getting fully alongside him and making sure, like, hey, I'm here, this is my corner. He ends up giving you room, but it's just enough room. Like right now, I would be nervous saying, oh God, he doesn't see me. I would have done the same thing, but he ends up giving you just enough room, but then we could have been a foot further to our left and not caught the grass, and that's what really hurt us here. So the only thing I would have said there is brake slightly deeper than you normally would, be more decisive, own that corner. You missed the apex by a little bit, it's okay, but it's all about being decisive, getting fully alongside, and then he wouldn't have squeezed you as much as he ended up actually squeezing you. So going through here, let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Lines again looking good. Again, coming from a long way back, kind of showing our nose. I would have, let me go back a little bit. So we're not really close to him. At this point, I like where you are. At this point, I'm working way back to the left to my normal line, setting up to have the right line, setting up all the way to the left, get a good run through this corner. Just be right with them, right with them, right with them, right with them. Go, 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 go. Open our hands earlier. You've got no one to worry about. So open those hands. Use the road there so you're not scrubbing speed. So at this point, look, we're still scrubbing speed. Look how much wider everyone else is running, and you're trying to set up to the inside. Use that road on exit. Don't scrub the speed. Focus on getting a good exit, and then that'll help you really make your overtaking easier. So overall, the number one thing I really want to push home is being decisive and maybe being a little bit more patient. Don't put yourself in the wrong positions. Now, unfortunately, in this time, the guy that we were fighting with did those things that were wrong, and it ended up working out for him only because you were really aware. But I promise that's going to hurt him more times than it's going to help him, because oftentimes someone's not going to know he's there. They're going to turn in, they're going to hit, and it's going to be the end of the race. So really decisive. And the big thing as well is don't be braking. Once you're braking, you want to really hold your line. Don't brake and kind of chop. If you're going to start covering to the inside, make that happen earlier. Again, it goes back, be decisive, show your intentions, force them around the outside. Those are the big things that we can improve upon. We'll talk about that more in your call. You can ask me some questions and we can go further into detail. So thanks again for using Racers360. Looking forward to seeing you at the next race.